He laughed, a soft, contemptuous chuckle that echoed through the marble lobby. The kind of laugh that's meant to erase a person from the room. She felt it like a cold draft. Dreams don't pay the rent, he said, but that laugh would come back to haunt him. Months later, the same woman he mocked would be the one holding the pen, signing the contract that would rewrite everything he thought he owned. If this story moves you, hit subscribe. We tell the stories the world should hear. She pushed the mop bucket down the corridor like she was steering a little ship through an ocean of polished floors and muted voices. Rosa Martinez knew every tile, every leak, every quiet corner of Pearson Langley. She could walk the halls blindfolded and still find the executive washrooms faster than most of the assistants. It paid the bills. It paid for her son's braces. It paid for the night classes she took on a battered laptop between shifts. Nobody at the law firm saw the degree she was earning, the late-night designs she sketched between court transcripts, or the way her eyes lingered on thread samples at discount stores. Because to them, especially to Jonathan Pierce, CEO and town sculptor of success, Rosa was a background detail, a neat apron, a smiling nod, a human eraser for crumbs. Her dream was small if you asked a billionaire, a line of comfortable, dignified workwear for service workers, uniforms that didn't scream invisible, but whispered dignity. She'd sketched jackets with hidden pockets, breathable fabrics, colors that didn't hide grime but hid nothing of the wearer's pride. She called it shift and shine on nights when the fridge hummed louder than hope. At the annual firm gala, where crystal chandeliers judged the room, she carried silver trays like a practice moon. A 5-minute conversation with a junior partner had turned into a 5-second humiliation when Jonathan Pierce noticed the mock-up jacket peeking from under her apron. He stepped in like a storm, white teeth flashing. "What's that supposed to be?" he asked, loud enough for half the room to turn. Rosa froze. Her heart nodded. She'd been careful. No tags, no labels. Just a piece of cloth and a world inside it. "It's just a sample," she said, small but honest. Jonathan laughed, and not a humor that included her, but a demolition of her dignity. "A cleaner with a fashion line. That's adorable. Miss Martinez, maybe stick to polishing silverware. Leave clothes to people who can actually compete." The laughter rippled. Someone recorded it. Someone posted it. Someone else added an eye-roll emoji and a caption, and by morning, the clip lived in other people's timelines like a live thing. Rosa went home that night scraping pride off the soles of her shoes. Her son asked why she was quiet. She said nothing. She sewed until dawn. Months moved like slow currency. Rosa kept studying, kept mending, turned the mall's fabric bins into treasure hunts. She taught them to measure courage in inches and hems. Meanwhile, behind Pierce's frosted glass, Jonathan's world wavered. A competitor undercut a contract. A PR scandal from a partner leaked. A firm that once floated like an empire now scraped the edge of relevance. Pearson Langley's image, pristine, selective, elite, began to show the hairline fractures that greed makes. And then the thing that rarely forgives arrogance happened. Pierce needed someone who understood the people he'd ignored. A hospital chain managing uniforms for dozens of clinics canceled Pierce and Langley's consulting contract. Their new supplier, a human-centered company with ergonomic designs and honest pricing, swept in like daylight. The hospital's CEO said plainly to Pierce's COO in a clip that would make its way to Pierce's board, "It's not just about price. We need dignity for our staff. We need designs that last and respect the wearer." Pierce's white-knuckle grip tightened. He called meeting after meeting, throwing numbers like anchors at a storm. The board wanted solutions. The clients wanted humanity. Pierce wanted to buy some of what he lacked. One of his partners suggested the obvious. Buy the brand that was stealing their market. Acquire the small, scrappy company with the viral following. The one doing in 2 months what Pierce couldn't in 2 decades. Buy them. Integrate them. Silence them with money. They found Rosa eventually. Not in an office, but on a delivery run, hands ink-stained, headscarf tied. She found a seamstress who believed in her pockets and a supplier who didn't laugh when she asked for small orders. On her breaks, she posted small videos. Why uniforms should be dignified. How pockets can save a mother 15 minutes every shift. People began to watch. People began to share. The miracle of the internet is it doesn't care who you used to be. It cares what you make it feel like to be now. Orders trickled, then flowed. Shift and shine became a phrase, a comment, a shared post by a nurse in Omaha, a barista in Brooklyn. Local cafes placed orders. A boutique bought a batch. Her son's braces gleamed newer than pride. Rosa rented a small studio above a dry cleaner. She hired two other women who had always carried invisible labor like weight belts. Surrounded by boxes and the hum of sewing machines, her studio smelled like oil and lavender, and the kind of work that changes lives. Jonathan Pierce arrived in a rented sedan, practiced smile on his face. "Miss Martinez," he said, as if he'd never laughed. He handed over a glossy folder, the kind with contracts meant to make a handshake. "We'd like to discuss a buyout," he said smoothly. "You have a good thing. We can take it national." Rosa watched him. She watched every angle of his face, the arrogance that still lived in the crease between his brows. She remembered the clip, his laugh, the way the room leaned into his certainty. She thought of her mother's hands, rough as bark but soft as bread. She thought of her son's laugh when he tried on his first jacket. She thought of nights when no orders came, and she prayed by the sewing machine like it was an altar. She smiled, not the small, apologetic kind, the kind that rearranges a life. "You want to buy Shift and Shine?" she echoed. "For how much?" He named a number that would have ruined her in the legal sense, but not in the moral one. A valuation that assumed she had no soul attached. A clean exit. A tidy headline. Rosa shook her head. "I'm not selling my dream," she said. Jonathan blinked. "You turned down a seven-figure offer?" "Miss Martinez, you could step out of this room and never look back." "You're right," she said quietly. "I could step out, and I could also sign your contract." He smiled, thinking he'd won the scene. "We'll draft it. You sign our NDAs, our merger clauses." A photo circulated of Rosa, sleeves rolled up, signing a contract with Jonathan Pierce, watching as if he were learning what real work looked like. There are nights Rosa sits at the studio, hands in flour, thread and coffee, and thinks about revenge. She thinks about how easy it would be to rub his nose in the way fame can flood a past. But revenge is loud. Justice is patient. Her life lesson is simple and ancient. Those who mock others for dreaming often misunderstand the way dreams are built. Stitch by stitch, hour by hour, in the quiet where nobody's recording. "I'll sign," Rosa said. "But the name on that contract will be Shift and Shine, LLC. You'll be the vendor. You'll follow our terms. You'll respect the people who wear what you sell. You'll keep our pricing transparent and our supply chain fair. And you'll smile as you deliver dignity." Silence. Jonathan's laugh wanted to live, but it had no air. He had expected the woman who cleaned his floors to be grateful for crumbs. He had not expected her to want the table. So he signed eventually. He did the polite radio silence, the legal acrobatics, the quiet anger. But he signed. Months later, Pierce and Langley's uniforms hung with Rosa's labels. The hospital chain returned, this time with a press release about strategic partnership with Shift and Shine. The cameras loved the story. Small-town dreamer takes on corporate titan. But not everyone applauded. A late-night message blinked on Rosa's phone the night the press release dropped. Unknown number. One line. "You just signed away more than his pride. Check the supply list, or your shipments stop tomorrow." Rosa held the phone in her hand. Behind the studio's window, lights went out, one by one, across the city. She'd won a contract, but now she had enemies with suits as clean as their lies. Rosa could feel the world shifting, but she didn't fully understand just how fast it was happening. The morning after her uniforms went viral, her phone buzzed until the battery died. Her inbox overflowed with messages from small businesses, hospitals, private schools, and even a tech company asking for custom designs. What began as a mockery inside a brightly polished lobby had turned into a storm of unexpected support. Rosa wasn't used to praise. For years, she'd been invisible, moving quietly from floor to floor, mopping, sweeping, scrubbing, and collecting the pieces of other people's lives while dreaming of something bigger. And yet now she was at the center of everything. She moved quickly, turning her living room into a full workspace. Within hours, millions of viewers replayed the video. They weren't laughing. They were furious. Comments poured in criticizing his arrogance, his cruelty, and his ignorance. His PR department called it a crisis. Investors called it a liability. HR called it a violation of workplace ethics. His board called it disgraceful. By the end of the week, Ben was forced to make a public apology video. He read stiffly from a script, voice strained, eyes empty. Viewers didn't believe a word of it. The company lost thousands of followers, 3 clients canceled partnerships, and protesters began gathering outside the building, holding signs that read, "Dreams belong to everyone," and "Respect is a requirement, not a bonus." But Rosa paid none of that any attention. Fabric rolled over chairs, sewing needles covered the counter. 2 second-hand machines hummed every night. Her teen son Miguel became her assistant, ironing and packaging orders with pride. Her neighbor Lucia handled messages and invoices. Nothing felt real, not until the first delivery truck arrived at her building and asked, "Are you the owner of Rosaware?" Her hands trembled as she said yes. She was no longer sweeping floors. She was building something. Meanwhile, across town, CEO Benjamin Rhodes faced a storm he did not expect. His mocking laugh at Rosa, once a moment of entertainment for him, had been recorded by someone in the lobby and posted online. The clip captured his words clearly. "A cleaner with a dream? Don't make me laugh." Not because she didn't care, but because she was too busy growing. Every day orders doubled. Lucia had to hire 2 more friends to keep up. Rosa bought 3 used industrial machines and squeezed them into her apartment. She barely slept, yet she had never felt more alive. Her designs were more than uniforms. They were dignity stitched into fabric. People felt it. They wore it proudly. Her brand wasn't just rising, it was soaring. 3 months later, Rosaware finally expanded into a small studio space downtown. It wasn't fancy. Bare brick walls, mismatched tables, and a single large window. But to Rosa, it was a palace. Miguel painted a sign above the entrance that read, "Rosaware, built from the ground up." She cried when she saw it. Customers visited the studio, often just to shake her hand. Photos of her story hung in community centers. Newspapers praised her. Yet none of that compared to the pride she felt watching Miguel introduce her as "my mom, the business owner." Meanwhile, Ben's life continued spiraling downward. His board launched an internal review. The shareholders wanted new leadership. His assistant quit. His public reputation collapsed. Every interview request was about the viral clip. His company's comments section turned into a battlefield. He had gone from respected CEO to a symbol of workplace arrogance, and all because he laughed at the wrong woman on the wrong day. But even humiliation wasn't what scared him most. What terrified him was the email his procurement department forwarded one morning. "Cannot," he insisted, "under any circumstances, purchase from that woman." Silence filled the boardroom. One director leaned forward and said, "Benjamin, she's the top-rated supplier in the city. Her customer satisfaction is perfect. Her turnaround time is unheard of, and she's affordable." Another added, "We've already lost clients over your treatment of her. Approving her contract might salvage our reputation." Ben looked around. Every face stared back coldly. He no longer held power. He was the problem they all wanted to fix. He sat back, throat tight, as the board voted unanimously to move forward with Rosaware. His objections didn't matter anymore. For the first time in his career, Benjamin Rhodes was overruled. 2 days later, Rosa sat inside her new studio, pinning fabric to a mannequin, when the doorbell chimed. Lucia answered it, then froze. Rosa turned around and felt her breath catch. Standing right there in a spotless gray suit was Ben, the man who mocked her dream, the man who laughed at her, the man who told her she would never amount to anything. He clutched a sleek black folder like his life depended on it. "Rosa," he began, shifting nervously, "I'm here to discuss a potential partnership." She stared at him, stunned, measuring every detail of this moment, his discomfort, his forced smile, his exposed weakness. He cleared his throat. "My company would like to place an order with you, a large one." Lucia folded her arms. Miguel stopped sorting fabrics and glared. Rosa did not blink. She stepped closer, calm, steady, unshaken. "You want my uniforms," she said softly. You want my work? Ben swallowed hard and nodded. Yes, we do. She held his gaze, letting the silence stretch until it snapped. She then opened the folder he handed her. The contract inside was worth more than every paycheck she had ever earned as a cleaner. Her name, printed boldly, looked powerful. She signed it with a quiet, confident stroke of the pen. Ben watched, face draining. He realized in real time what had happened. He had once laughed at her dream. Now he was depending on it. As Rosa handed the signed contract back to him, her voice was steady but sharp. Next time, she said, think twice before laughing at someone trying to rise. He nodded, embarrassed, unable to speak. He left the studio quietly, a man reduced and corrected. Rosa turned to her team, exhaling slowly as Miguel hugged her tightly. But the victory wasn't finished. As Rosa prepared a shipment later that evening, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Your rise has drawn attention, it read. Be careful. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. Rosa stared at the screen, heart quickening. She had no idea that someone else had been watching her rise long before Ben came by. Rosa stared at the message on her phone long after the sender's number disappeared from her screen. Your rise has drawn attention. Be careful. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. The words felt cold, deliberate, too intentional to ignore. Miguel suggested blocking the number, but Rosa couldn't shake the chill crawling up her spine. Still, orders needed to be filled, deliveries needed to be prepared, and customers depended on her. She pushed the worry aside and went back to work, telling herself it was nothing. But over the next week, strange things began happening. Small things at first, packages delayed without explanation, supplies arriving damaged, emails from new clients mysteriously disappearing from her inbox. Lucia double-checked everything, insisting the system was glitching. But Rosa sensed something deeper. One afternoon, she returned to the studio to find the front door slightly open. Nothing was missing, but fabrics had been shifted, drawers left ajar, and her notebooks moved as if someone had read through every page. She reported it, but without signs of a break-in, no one could do much. The next blow came when one of her largest clients, a hospital, suddenly canceled their order. Rosa called the administrator, a kind woman named Evelyn, who apologized profusely and said, "We were told your business is unstable right now, that you might not be able to fulfill the contract." Rosa's throat tightened. Told by who? Evelyn hesitated. Someone claiming to be from your former employer. They said they were trying to warn us about you. Rosa didn't need to guess who that meant. Word traveled fast. 2 more clients backed out by the end of the day. The damage was happening quietly but deliberately. Something, or someone, was targeting her growth. And yet, Rosa refused to panic. She had built too much from too little to fold now. She gathered her team, explained the situation honestly, and told them something she truly believed. If someone is fighting this hard to stop us, it means we're doing something powerful. But the truth surfaced sooner than she expected. 3 days later, Rosa received a letter from a well-known law firm, delivered by hand. The envelope was thick, stamped with a gold seal, too official to ignore. She opened it carefully, expecting some type of business inquiry. Instead, her stomach dropped. It was a cease and desist notice, claiming that Rosa Ware had violated a corporate confidentiality agreement from her time as a cleaner. According to the letter, she had improperly used insider knowledge and compromised proprietary uniform designs. Everything in the statement was a lie. Every line a fabrication. Rosa had never touched uniform designs at her old job. She had never even been allowed near that department. All she did was mop and sweep, invisible to the people now accusing her of theft. She read the signature at the bottom. Benjamin Rhodes. But it wasn't his actual signature that shook her. It was the second one beneath it, a name she didn't recognize at first. Harper Locke. The title beside the name read, Chief Legal Officer. Lucia gasped. Miguel cursed under his breath. Rosa took a slow breath, her eyes narrowing with something sharper than fear. Determination. He's trying to shut us down because he can't control us, she said quietly. Because he can't handle that we no longer work for him. But deep down, Rosa sensed something didn't add up. This wasn't Ben's style. Ben was arrogant and petty, yes, but reckless? This level of manipulation felt strategic, coordinated, professional, and not in a good way. While Rosa investigated the false accusations with the help of a legal aid group, something else happened across town. Ben was summoned to an urgent board meeting. When he walked into the conference room, he found his directors staring at him with grim expressions. On the table lay copies of the same cease and desist letter Rosa had received. Ben's heart dropped. He hadn't authorized this. He hadn't even seen it. The board chair tapped the paper. "Did you approve this?" Ben shook his head vigorously. "No, I would never risk another scandal." The room fell silent. Slowly, one of the senior directors slid another document across the table. It was an internal memo signed by Harper Locke, outlining a plan to neutralize Rosaware before its growing influence hurt the company further. Ben's face went pale. "Neutralize," he repeated. "What does that even mean?" The director looked at him coldly. "It means someone in this company is waging a war behind your back." Meanwhile, Rosa received another message from the same unknown number. This time it wasn't a warning. It was a confession. "The CEO isn't the one coming for you." Rosa's pulse quickened. "Then who?" she typed back. The reply came instantly. "Someone far more threatened by your success." She didn't know it, but on the top floor of Rhodes Global, Harper Locke was shredding documents, deleting emails, and preparing the next move. Because Rosa's rise wasn't just humiliating for the company, it threatened to expose something far bigger. A secret Harper had buried years ago. A secret Rosa was unknowingly walking straight toward. As Rosa locked up her studio that evening, she noticed a black car parked across the street with its headlights off, waiting. She tried to get a clear look, but the windows were tinted too dark to recognize anything. Her phone buzzed once more with a final message from the unknown sender. "Rosa, whatever you do, don't meet with Harper Locke alone." She froze, heart pounding. She hadn't told anyone about the cease and desist letter besides her team. She hadn't told anyone about the canceled contracts. She hadn't told anyone about the break-in. So who was sending these warnings? And how much did they already know? As the black car engine rumbled and the vehicle slowly pulled away, Rosa suddenly understood something chilling. She wasn't just fighting for her business anymore. She was fighting for the truth. A truth powerful enough to destroy the person determined to destroy her first. And Harper Locke wasn't done.